Hello. With the recent patch we got the skill tree changes, and with that there came a lot of new builds, and some of the characters in this game got hit and some of them got buffed. So what you will now have is there are no more random perks in your skill tree, which means you will always know exactly where you want to go. You will always see the perks in the beginning and you can have an idea of where you want to go in your path. But that obviously denies you of having some fun builds, some mixed up builds, some variety. So I would say in the end you're going to see way more fixed build on every character, because there's obviously a best way to play her depending on your situation. So now you will always know, okay, if I will run full damage, I always have to go this, and then you will see that most of the players who run your character will now have the exact same perks. This means, yes, of course, now you don't have a lot of variety. Some fun builds are removed, for example, Blood Feeding Hitch and Johnny Hitch, while they still had the option to be their damage build. So yeah, you could mix it up from game to game while you are in the game. But now I would say, okay, you can, before you start the game, respec and go another build if you feel like playing something else. Because in the end, you don't have to wait an hour or more to get all of the random perks you're hoping, which means it's way less punishing now if you want to try out something new. I would say overall, I like the changes. The most broken builds on both sides got nerfed, so the Hysterical Strength Scout Violent Bubba on family side got the biggest hit. But with the Scout changes, Bubba is way too strong, so in my opinion he was OP. And then on the victim side, the biggest hits were Danny and Anna, because Danny is still just way too strong of a character, so he does not really need the best perks. And then they removed the grappler and choose fight combination, which a lot of Annas were running, which in my opinion was considered stupid, because going close encounter you had some risk that a family member can come, or you have suffocating grip. But if you won the close encounter, you had a choose fight, so you had a kinda medium risk to high reward. But if you ran the combination grappler and choose fight, there was just nothing really the family member can do and just got bullied. So overall, I do like the changes. The biggest winner in my opinion on family side was Sissy, and the biggest loser on family side was Baba and Nancy. So Nancy got hit. I tried a lot of builds with her back in the day. I tried every single possible way, and I always found myself being frustrated because nothing really worked out. Because of her base attribute points, they were just so weird. And then they changed the skill tree and fixed and added Fired Up. So now Nancy was, in my opinion, very strong. But the way the skill tree is now, because of her points, you cannot really go both. You cannot have damage and slowdown and stamina, because you have to decide now if you want Fired Up, Scout, or Poisonous Claw. There's no combination of all of them. But in the end, I would still say Nancy is probably the best to defend the cavalry side on the mill. Also, her ability is very strong in my opinion. It's especially on a bandit mill as well, when there are so many tall grasses where the victims can hide and be completely invisible. And yeah, giving information if you have a Leatherface to tell him where the victims are is very strong, not to underestimate. I would say when it comes to straight up information, she is maybe better than Cook. Yes, Cook can highlight you and can give you wall hack, but if you know the map and if you have comms and your Leatherface or your teammate also knows the map, Nancy can highlight them while they're sitting, while they're crouching, while they're sneaking. And this is very strong. In my opinion, the traps just take a little bit too long to set up, but once you have your traps, her lockdown is also very amazing. So in the end, Family House, Abandoned Mill, Nancy's House, these are all very good maps for me to play Nancy. But yeah, like I said, sadly she got hit a little bit, so I had to come up with a new build and check some numbers, run some numbers, and now I'm going to show you my new Nancy loadout here. So, as always, we're going to start with the attribute points. The reason why we do have 31 Savagery now is because, like I said, you cannot have Scout and Fired Up, but as you should know me, I always like to put the unique perks in every character or have a unique playstyle that makes me want to play this character instead of someone else. Because if you want to run the Scout version with Feral, why would you not run Hitchhiker instead if you say, okay, I want to lock down areas with my trap, right? So her having now her unique perks, which I think are her best perks, means that you have to check some numbers. So 31 Savagery is a very, very nice sweet spot. It doesn't matter if the victims have 25 toughness or more, until they have 40 toughness. And of course they max HP. But if the victims have 25 up to 40 toughness, while they are max HP, you will always need 7 hits to kill them. So that's why 31 is a very nice spot. The lowest I would say are maybe Julie or Sonny if they have no cell, which are below 30 toughness. The most common is now something between 30 and 35. And I would say above 40 is very, very rare. But even then they have to be full HP, so you need the same amount of hits or more hits than you obviously need. If you really want to make a difference for victims who are more than 40 toughness, you need to put the Savagery number up all the way to, I think it was 42, 41, something like that, so 10 more points, which is in my opinion not worth it just to get that little bit more in. It would be, yes, if you still had Fired Up, because then with Fired Up you don't care about your endurance or your stamina. But since that is not an option anymore, unless you obviously go to the right path, then take 31 Savagery, and now Nancy is more like a cook, so she's less deadly than she was before the changes, but she's more like a cook, so you can lock down an area quite well, you can defend the area, it's gonna be annoying to push through her side, and she can give insane information over and over. So yeah, a little bit less deadly, but in the end, not too bad when it comes to straight up killing, because in the end if you put 50 toughness here now, instead of you needing 7 hits, you needed maybe 6 hits, or best case scenario if they're super low HP 5 hits. So in the end, yeah, 2 hits more, it's an okay trade-off, I would say, or I would say most of the time 1 hit, right, if they are full HP. Then we're going to the Blood Harvesting. Blood Harvesting, I would leave it like it is. Yes, it's a very, very weird number, and one of the biggest downside of Nancy, because 33 is such a weird number. If you really want to collect buckets, you need to go up to 38. But since she have no damage and no stamina, which are the most important stats in the game, it's 33. It's weird. Well, now you always have an uneven or odd number when you want to collect buckets and level up Grandpa, so it always feels awkward. But then I would say Nancy is the worst character if you really want to collect buckets because of her setup time. Her setup time just takes so long that if the victims are rushing, sometimes you cannot even place all 3 of your traps if they push your side, depending obviously what the victims are doing. So now you placing 3 sides without checking your side means worst case scenario they could be out. So there's no time for you to place traps and then collect bucket. So leave it as it is, and it's okay if you kill a victim, you're at least going to have more than 100 blood, so that's the good part about it, right? But yeah, do not really bother collecting blood in my opinion, and just leave it. And then for endurance, at the moment I do have 36, because I don't have my perk leveled up yet, level 3. But endurance means how long you can sprint, and if you stop sprinting, how fast your stamina starts regenerating. And the hit rate, so you hit a little bit faster the more endurance you have, and the most important thing here is the amount of stamina you use while swinging. So I have 36 one here now because I have my unrelenting level 1, so if you see on level 3 I'm going to get 4 more endurance points, which will give me 40 endurance. 40 endurance means that your maximum amount of stamina is 100, and every hit on 40 endurance will take you 10 stamina. So in the end you will be able to get 10 hits in before you run out of stamina. And since you don't have Scout, you need to know that most of the time, if you want to catch up to a victim, you do not have max stamina. So even if you are on 50% stamina, once you finally caught up to a victim, with Poisonous Claws, now you can stick on them. And if you are 50%, you can get 5 hits in, right? Obviously. And like I said, most of the time, you need 7 unless they are not full HP. So yeah, then you can get 6 hits in, which leads to a lot of kills. So that's why I would say having more endurance in this case scenario is better than stamina. Because if you put all the points in savagery, you're going to end up with, well, now instead of you needing 7 hits to kill a victim, you're only going to need 6 hits or 5 hits, right? But then you're going to end up with 20 toughness or endurance, and now your maximum amount of hits are going to be 5 or 6. So now you need full stamina and right behind the victim to kill them. So in the end, yeah, you will need 1 hit more, but you're going to have 10 instead of 5 hits until you run out of stamina. So this is why my attribute points are like that. Like I said, I ran a lot of numbers to try and figure out what is the best way now to counter her fired up. And in the end, you're still deadly, but obviously not as deadly as you were before. But in the end, it still is kind of the same playstyle, which is, in my opinion, her best playstyle. So then we're going to talk about the skill tree. As always in the beginning, I would go right, because if you go to the right side, you have 2 very good perks. So the best perk here is Dinner Bell, right? So in case you do not have a hitchhiker with you and you want to and you don't want to talk with your teammates, or you're playing with randoms who do not use voice chat, highlighting them if they run into a trap is very important so they actually come. If you do have communication though, or teammates who use voice chat, or you run a 3-man squad, or at least a 2-man squad where your teammate is Leatherface, it's not that important because, like I said, you're going to stay close to your traps. So if they run into a trap, you can always tell your Leatherface where they have to be. And how Nancy's trap work is if you are very close to them while they run into the trap, they will be highlighted because they're making a noise, because there are bells on the traps, right? So yeah, but having the option to have Dinner Bell, that's why we go right. And then now it depends on how you want to play, right? If you say, okay, I don't care about her unique playstyle, I don't care about her unique perks, I just want to play my whatever. If I really want to chase a victim to get the fastest to the victims and deal damage, you go middle. Because in the middle you do have Feral and Scout. So yeah, you can have even more savagery and you have Scout, so you can catch up faster. And then at the end you can still go left and have you Unrelenting. So now you do have a lot of stamina, you do have a lot of damage, and you do run faster. So this is obviously, I would say, a way if you don't care about playing around with her unique perks. But like I said, I do like playing about unique perks, and when we're talking about the perks, I am explaining why I think it's so strong. And then if you say what I explained, right, running blood feeding with Nancy is in my opinion, the worst idea. I would rather have a Sissy, a Hitchhiker, a Johnny, or a Cook to feed Puppy because they have no setup time. And with a setup time, it's too long. But if you really say, okay, I don't care, all I care is feeding up Grandpa because I want to level up my character level, or I just really play the game to have a shit ton of fun and level Grandpa up because that's what's fun for you. Then you can obviously go here for Universal Donor, then go to the right, here is your fired up, and then you can combine it with Surgical. So yeah, now you're going to have, you can collect buckets and get blood. If you hit the victims, you get blood, and you don't have stamina problems because you're running fired up. So yeah, you can go to the right side. I tried Sip 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 with Surgical combination to see if you have both level 3 to get above 50 per hit. But it's not working, so don't try Sip Sip Sip, because, well, now you deal even less damage, and in the end it's not gonna be worth it. Yeah, but yeah, I officially went to the left, because here are unique perks. Like I said, we start this, and over here there are Pins and Needles and Poisonous Claws. I do think Poisonous Claws is by far her best perk, because if you hit the victim, they are slowed out, they tumble, sometimes they f*** up and do not get their gap because they're misclicking, they misclick on a crossbase, something like that, and you can stick to them. So worst case scenario, you hit them, you just wait a bit until your stamina regenerates and then start chasing and hitting again, because they will not make a lot of distance. And pins and needles, because most of the time having 3 traps allows you to lock down the side very well, but there are some maps or a lot of maps where just having this one more trap can make your side way more deadlier, because you can use that to connect your side to something else. So even if they run away from your side, they can run into a trap. And having one more trap, yes, it doesn't trigger every game, but even then, okay, if the game is slow or you know where the victims are, or you do have your side locked down, you can sometimes even pick up the trap and then place down the trap to get a new one. Also, if the victims run through your trap or disable your trap, instead of just going there and resetting the trap, you can pick it up and then place it again. Which will means, okay, now you need 5 more seconds in general to place that trap because of the pickup animation. But I would say it's worth it to have a chance of hanging one more trap. And then we also go unrelenting, so you have a little bit more stamina. And then I would say, yeah, if you don't want to run unrelenting, there's a way to run strong-minded, because it kind of deals the same. It has 30 seconds, you have your Nancy ability every 42-ish seconds. So yeah, this is the skill tree I would recommend. It's the most fun, most unique, and also, in my opinion, the most annoying to play against if you're a victim, because, well, now if she hits you, it's strong. If you run into the traps, which are, if they run into it, very strong. But this is how it would go. And now we're going to talk about the perks. So like I said, Poisonous Claws, in my opinion, the best perk. If you hit them, they are drunk for 8 seconds, and yeah, you can just walk up, hit them. They are slowed down, they are drunk, you can wait, get your stamina back, start hitting them again, depending obviously on where you get that hit then, if they're next to a gap or cross base or whatever. If it's not trapped, of course, if you have a trap that you don't have to care, then you will still be able to catch up, because this is a very nice replacement for Scout. If there would be able to run Poisonous Claws and Scout on Nancy, she would be very, very strong. Maybe it would be too broken, because in the end you're going to be deadlier than Johnny, in my opinion, if that would be possible. So then we're going to run Pins and Needles, because like I said, having one trap more can be very important on a lot of maps to lock down your area better. And also, if they run through your trap or disable your trap, instead of replacing them, you can pick them up, place them again, lose 5 seconds in total, but have a chance to get more traps. Or if there's nothing going on, the victims are playing it slow, or they're maybe 2 alive, you know, both of them are basement or on your teammate, you can just pick up your trap and replace them to pass some time and get more value up in the late game, so you scale up more and more and more the slower they play. So if they don't rush against Nancy, it's most of the time a death sentence if you have this. Worst case scenario, the whole map is gonna be trapped, or all the strong loops are gonna be trapped. I would not recommend you placing traps in scenarios where they can disable them from a side where you cannot catch them or see them, or it's very obvious. So they can do it while they're leaving basement or not in chase. But if you place them on areas in the middle of the map where most of the time the victims only run to while they are in a chase, your traps are super deadly. And if the victims run into it, most of the time it's a death sentence. And then you're going to have Unrelenting, because like I explained in the beginning, you now have 31 savagery, which means now on average you need your 6 to 7 hits. I would say most of the time, on nearly every scenario, you're going to end up needing 7 hits. But now having you level 3 for the endurance means you take 10 stamina per hit, so you have 10 hits in total, and the combination is just very, very strong. The other way, which I say, okay, if you wanna mix it up a little bit and you don't want to respec and go all the way to the right to do an blood feeding overkill, you still have a chance with Nancy. I would recommend something like that. I would not recommend putting points in damage instead of endurance, because yeah, it does not really matter if you deal no damage or a little bit less than no damage, right? But still cannot hit them at all. You run out of stamina. If you want to run from bucket to bucket, it's just painful. So this would be the attribute points to it. Then obviously Universal Donor. So you get the maximum value out of it. Unrelenting to get a little bit more stamina, and Dinner Bell in case there's no hitch. You can obviously mix this up. I don't think there's too many options. Like I said, don't run pins and needles with it, because now you need to place traps and collect blood buckets. That's not a good idea. If you run with randoms, for example, you can also run Drag Attack, which is nice, because if they have no communication, no voice chat, you now highlight the victims if you hit them. So this is also very strong, right? So you run from your bucket to bucket, you see a victim, you just hit them once and let them go, and your teammates know where they are. So these are, in my opinion, good perks. You can also obviously run Blood Runner, so in the end you do not use stamina and you get some more hits. And like I said, this is just it's why the build is not perfectly fixed out, because I would not recommend playing this, but yeah, I'm just showing that there could be an option to mix it up for you every once in a while without needing to respec. Sadly, the grandpa perks are all very bad in my opinion. Family Sync can be strong for Leatherface or Johnny, because you can hear the victims if they're hiding. On Nancy, using a Family Sync to listen to victims hiding is not the best idea, because you need the Family Sync to check your traps. But if there is really no other good grandpa perk in your team, you can pick it, because in the end maybe you can use it a little bit. Maybe your Leatherface can make use out of it, right? But if there is some other good grandpa perk, so the best perks are Exterior Alarm, Nobody Escapes Hell, and Suffocating Grip. Check if one of your teammates have that. If not, and if they also bring random perks, it doesn't matter if you bring also random perk. But at the moment you see one of your teammates having one of those 3 perks, don't pick a grandpa perk at all, because most of the time you get your grandpa to level 1 and leave it like that for the rest of the game. So just denying the chance for you to get a good grandpa perk for the game the moment the game starts, just so you have a bad one, is not worth it. So yeah, but most of the time in your combination, at least one will have Exterior or one of those 3 perks, right? So don't bother. And then we're talking about the executions. I don't think all her, I don't really like her executions. The newest one, the crutch shot, is nice when it comes to pain, to the gore, brutal aspect, right? Because this one hurts. So if you're a man, also if you're a woman, this well, looks painful, is probably the best one she has. Overall, every other one I don't like. They're not really brutal, not really nice. They all take quite a long time. So in the end, yeah, if you like to go for aesthetic or brutal one, take the crutch shot. Otherwise, don't even bother. They're all kinda the same-ish, I would say. Yeah, now we're going to talk about her ability. And as always, we're going to start from the top. So first of all, start from left, right? Here you see the victims closest to you. I thought about a playstyle back in the day with her 2 perks that she gains more damage and more stamina when she pops her ability, but it wasn't really worth it. It was just, yeah, it didn't really work out. It was kind of useless. And then you have the one where you can see the furthest away. It can be useful. Let's say you want to check if someone is... You're standing in the middle of the map and you want to check, okay, did someone already open the gate, or is someone hiding close to the exit gate? Is someone doing car battery, etc.? You will always know. So I would always recommend this if you really want information. But there's a very, very big downside. As long as you're not level 3 with your Nancy, it can be very hard to tell where the victims are. Even for me, I'm super experienced when it comes to the map and the map knowledge, and if I have this one, I would say 99% of the time I can tell exactly where the victim is. But with this, even I struggle. So this is a huge downside. If you don't know all the maps in and out, and you know every single bush, every single grass, every single tree, that's still not smart to use, even though in theory it sounds very, very strong. If they would make her clear vision base kit, which I hope they will in the future at some point, because it's just punishing for everyone to level her up, and her ability is completely useless. Most of the time on every character you can still use your ability, but in this scenario it just punishes victims who don't, or family member who don't spend hours and hours playing the game, just play casually. So yeah, I don't think that's a smart idea. But since that is the case, I don't like those two. That's why you need the clearer vision. And with the clearer vision, you will now always see what the victims see if you use it and it's clear, so you exactly see the victim's POV. So if they move the camera, you will see it. So yeah, you just get the POV of the victim who is playing, and the victim you choose is random. But yeah, most of the time the victims are not looking down, so you can always tell where it is. Even if they're looking down, you know the map quite well, you can always tell. Since now we're here, right, we have the option to go either this one or this one. So the right side reduces your cooldown seconds wise, and the middle one reduces your cooldown percentage wise. And now I do have to cheat real bit, so you can actually trust me. So Nancy's base cooldown of her ability is 1 minute and 47 seconds. And if you combine that with the 20% cooldown, like this, and then you go right, so you pick this and then right, you're going to end up with 1 minute and 25 seconds of your recharge rate. And if you go the 3 seconds and the 40%, you're going to end up with 1 minute and 16 seconds. So if you go right, middle, and then right again, you're going to save up 31 seconds in total. So you're going to have your ability every 1 minute and 16 seconds, which is the most efficient way to go with a skill tree. You can do the math yourself, right? You can check it. Like I said, the base recharge rate is 1 minute 47 seconds. And then you can do the math yourself if you don't believe me. But yeah, this is the best efficient way. And since we do not pick this one, we don't care what's over here. So yeah, this is how I would put my ability points on Nancy. And this is it. So this is all there has to be said about the new skill tree, the new loadout, her new perks. And yeah, I hope you're going to like it. Hope you're going to enjoy it. I hope you will have some very nice and good games with it in the future. In case you did, make sure to leave a like. And as always, if you feel super nice, make sure to comment in the video below or subscribe to my channel in case you didn't already. Thanks for watching and good luck in the next games. Bye bye.